This is Logical Logistics, where we cover shipping, supply chain, logistics, and everything in between. Welcome to the show. This is the latest edition of Logical Logistics, and once again, I'd like to welcome a return guest, Brandon Freed from the Air Forwarders Association. Today we're going to talk about the transfer of the international shipping method from AES Direct to the ACE system. Now, the ACE system was, this is a result of a presidential order back in February 2014. It's actually for the air automated commercial environment, right?
Yeah, automated commercial environment, right?
Right. So the transition is taking place, and what I wanted to do is get just a brief synopsis from you on why it was put into place, how it's going, the transition, maybe a little bit from the phone calls. During the conference call that you were able to put on, or a lot of specific questions, but we can address some of the general questions like the transition. One of the first things is the current transition that's happening is it is done by actual tax ID number, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you know what? And by the way, Joe, thanks for having me again. And it's I appreciate your listeners' participation in this as well. You know, our members primarily at the Air Forwarders Association tend to be air freight forwarders who might have customs brokers you know, import people within their companies doing their import transactions with Customs and Border Protection. So obviously, it's the import people who are most concerned about the transition over to ACE, the Automated Commercial Environment. But as we all know, on shipments over $2,500 in value on the export side, you have to file, you know, the shipper's export declaration through the AES Automated Export System through Department of Census. And so the AES platform has been changed from AES Direct to this refactored AES, and that's where we're seeing some issues. The new AES, this refactored AES, is part of ACE.
Okay.
And that's where last week, you know, we saw some breakdowns in the system, which prompted my call over to CBP, and CBP was gracious enough to not only get their ACE leadership team in, but also folks from Census as well, to deal with the nitty-gritty details of the transitional issues. Our overall concern is that, you know, on this AES refactored, is that there is a slow, a very methodical or systematic transition that's based on date, and there's certain milestones that have to be, you know, that are met in terms of who transitions over to the AES system. And what happened last week is one of the deadlines came, this whole group of people shifted over, and the thing started to fail.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what prompted the calls over to our office.
Okay.
And then, fortunately, AES with CBP, Census with CBP jumped on it pretty quick. They were able to solve the primary issue, and the rest of the week went pretty well. So, but you know, as you probably heard on the call last week, there is concern. I mean, there's a generalized concern that as more groups of filers transition into the refactored AES, that the system might continue to experience breakdowns.
Right.
And as you and I know, I mean, that's going to create delays in export shipping. We can't have that, obviously.
Correct.
For a number of reasons. First of all, you know, you as a freight forwarder know that you know, you get paid to move freight, not hold it.
Yeah.
You don't want to make, you know, you don't want to have to tell the customer it's been delayed because our government doesn't have a robust enough system to process this export transaction, the AES filing. But the other thing is that you've got a situation where you've got the president of the United States telling us that we have to increase exports during a very challenging time where the U.S. dollar is pretty expensive for outside countries to purchase, making goods here in the United States expensive. And so the last thing we need is difficulty getting the goods that we do sell out of the country. So
Right.
there's a lot of concern here.
Right. Now there is as far as I can remember, the deadlines. So they're transitioning these tax ID numbers. They're talking April 20th for a total transfer over to ACE, correct? And then there's a
Yeah, I think
legacy.
it is. Yeah, there's right. There's I'm not sure. I don't have the actual schedule in front of me, but yeah, it's been a gradual transition in groups,
Right.
and it's coming. That's why last week was so concerning,
Yeah.
because when they get to full capacity, if this thing starts breaking down, there's going to be a big concern.
Right. And the legacy site will only be used to look up past shipments,
Yeah.
and they're going to totally. They're saying they're going to totally bring that over within a
Right.
month. So yeah, it's
Yep,
going
they're
to.
going to port that over. Right, they're going to port
Yeah.
that over to ACE in a month or so. So
Right.
you're not going to have that back look. Exactly right.
So as with any web or computer-based programs, there's going to be glitches and that have to be worked out. But it is concerning what you're saying because of all of the transitions that are happening, that it could actually slow down exports, and that would be a really bad
Yeah.
thing. What I'm seeing
Yeah,
now is
I got to tell you, Joe, that
yeah,
one of the things that concerns us is that, you still don't have all the participating government agencies participating in ACE.
right,
And the overall concern, I think, in from the industry's perspective, is that what are those transitions going to be like? Will they be flawless? Probably not, because as you just said, when you transition to any type of a new IT platform, there are always issues. But what's in store for those filers that depend or have to make filings through those other participating government agencies? So, there could be some surprises yet to come.
yeah,
Some surprises, rather. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and not good surprises.
Not good ones.
Right.
Exactly.
I'm
Exactly.
seeing that
That's the big concern.
there's two final tax ID, and it goes actually in numerical order. So if your tax ID starts with a 7 or an 8 or a 9, that
Mm-hmm.
will finally wind up on April 25th, the migration over to the refactored AES Direct ACE system. And
Right.
then the legacy, I think, it's going to be another month to look up past shipments. So we'll see how that
Mm-hmm.
goes. But yeah,
Yeah, I was just at the. I just returned last night from the IATA CNS conference
okay.
in Nashville,
Yeah.
and there was some talk about it. I would tell you that whatever happened last week, CBP was pretty quick to jump on. It's like anything else. You have to ask yourself, how come this thing wasn't thoroughly tested or vetted? But I guess in this age of high technology, it's not the first time a product has been sent out there for users to actually test. And then they, like anything else, they just provide updates to it as they
Right.
find the glitches.
Exactly.
So I was talking to a number of forwarders, some customs brokers who were at this conference, and they told me that certainly probably as of last Tuesday, things were going much more smoothly than they had been the week before.
Well, that's good to hear. Can you tell
Mm-hmm.
us a little bit more about the IATA CNS conference?
Yeah, the conference was, I think, pretty successful. They had like probably over 500 people. It looked like that to me. I didn't get the actual count, but a lot of good discussion. There was a panel that I was asked to participate on. The AFA was participating on regarding how associations coalesce together to work on air cargo's behalf here in Washington. We had the keynote speaker was Bill Flynn from Atlas Air, who spoke about privatizing the nation's air traffic control system, and gave us an update on what's been going on with Atlas since they purchased Southern Air recently. We had Brian Clancy, who is a noted economist, and who, by the way, will also be featured at the upcoming Air Cargo 2016 conference, June 8th through 10th, over in Phoenix.
Okay.
He gave us an update on what to expect, and I thought, Brian always does a great job, and it was quite fascinating. And then IATA gave us a briefing on their pharmaceutical certification initiative, where they're setting standards for pharmaceutical transportation and storage during the transportation process. And that was also pretty interesting to learn more about. And then IATA brought in an economist from Europe to talk about air cargo in general from IATA's perspective. And we, when combined with what Brian Clancy has to say, there are some similarities and some differences, and I thought those were pretty interesting as well. And then they also asked me to moderate a panel on the customer experience, how customers view the air cargo industry. And what are the challenges, and how, if any way, we can improve on what we're delivering to the customer. And we talked about ground handling, and we talked about tendering and employee training, IT, that type of thing. We had a very distinguished panelists participating. So I think, generally speaking, it was a very worthwhile conference. And the discussion continues once we all head over to the air cargo event in Phoenix.
I'm glad you brought that up. Can you talk about the air cargo event in Phoenix? It's coming up in June, correct?
Yeah, we're very excited about it. And first of all, we have our keynote speaker is Ray Curtis. Ray Thurston.
Okay.
Again, my Ray's mixed up, but Ray Curtis is over at Delta. But Ray Thurston of Sonic Air, who was a very interesting story. He's been around for a long time. A typical rags to riches again, that type of thing. But Ray's company was basically an overnight courier back, Joe, back in the days when there were a lot of overnight couriers running, you remember those days.
Yes.
And they still exist to a certain extent today, but not to the extent that they did when you and I were just getting our teeth cut in this business. But Ray was purchased, or his company was purchased by UPS, and Ray became and still is the largest single UPS stockholder. And he's going to come and tell us all about what he's done, his past, the good and maybe not so good. We all learn from failures, and he's going to talk about those as well. So we're very excited about it.
Yeah, that sounds great. Not to interrupt you, but that sounds like a great keynote speaker.
I think so too. It's funny, Joe. We like to have keynote speakers at the Air Cargo Conference who not only can tell us about their successes, but also the failures. We want to hear what didn't go so well at the beginning, and how they overcame them, if in fact they did overcame these obstacles. And then we want them to give us a viewpoint on how they see the world through their prism. And we've had some great speakers at this conference. We recently had Bill Bosch from who used to run American Airlines cargo a number of years ago. Last year we had Jim Crane, who is the guy who started Eagle USA and now owns the Houston Astros.
Mm-hmm.
Who's one of the most profitable franchises in Major League Baseball, but he got his start in air cargo, on the air freight forwarding. So it was, so we continue to have good speakers. This year will be no exception. We're also going to be talking this year we're going to talk about drones and high tech and app-based delivery. We're going to look at the final mile this year on what's coming in terms of delivery and whatnot, and how that's being done. Will
Amazon be mentioned?
Yes.
Okay. Because they're really making a big play.
Yeah, you bet. And we're going to be talking about that. Is that a disruptor, or is that something that could possibly help forwarders? Is it going to be one of those situations where a rising tide is going to lift all boats? We're going to have some pretty distinguished panelists to talk about that. Of course, as I mentioned, we're going to have Brian Clancy give us his view relating now specifically to the forwarders, their trucking partners, the airlines that are going to be there, what we can expect down the line. And, you know, as I say, I mean, we are getting into an era of where technology is becoming more on the forefront in our business. And the question is, you know, is technology an enabler, or is it a tool? Is it something we can live without, or is it something that, you know, is it a must-have? So we're going to look at that. And then I think more importantly, we were planning on having, and we still are, TSA is going to be there. And I've been promised, as a matter of fact, I met with him yesterday in Nashville, Tom Friedman over at TSA, who we all know has promised me that at the end of the month we are going to see change 6 to the indirect air carrier standard security program.
All right.
So he's going to bring a team in to answer questions pertaining to change 6, and we may have some folks there from CBP. All in all, a very packed agenda, a good 2 days, June 8th through 10th in Phoenix. And if you want to register or you want to exhibit, I suggest you take advantage of some very good opportunities.
All right.
You just go to Air Cargo Conference. Just go to aircargoconference.com.
Okay.
And find out more.
All right, great. And then I'd like to thank you again for joining us. What's the best way to contact you, Brandon?
Well, the best way to contact me, you do it a number of ways.
Right.
You could always email me at bfried@airforwarders.org.
Right.
bfried@airforwarders.org. Or let's do it the old-fashioned way. Feel free to pick up the telephone and call me at 202-207-1101. When I'm not traveling, I'm usually here in my office in Washington, and even if I'm traveling, I check my messages, and I'll get right back to you.
Great. And the conference is June 8th through 10th in Phoenix, Arizona. And the best way to go to your web, could you give a shout out to your website again?
Yeah, you go to www.airforwarders.org. You'll see at the top right-hand part of the page a link to Air Cargo 2016, or you can go to just go to aircargoconference.com. And you can register that way as well. And as I said, lots of sponsorship opportunities. We have an exhibit hall. We'll have over 100 booths, so there's still some opportunities available there, and you can always register. I would say, Joe, if you are a freight forwarder, courier, trucker, an airline, even if you're an airport, because we have a partnership with the Airports Council International. They bring the airport cargo managers in, who really are a bunch of smart guys.
Yeah.
If you fall into that category, or you sell something to our industry, services, equipment, that type of thing, this is the show to be at. We're expecting over 1,000 people here, so this is the place to be.
Well, I'm going to be there, and I'm excited about it. And the fact that you're going to have some of these keynote speakers, especially the Roy Thurston, Brian Clancy. I know you're going to have, as you said, all the participation from the airlines to the couriers. It's just going to be, I'm really looking forward to it. So,
yeah. Oh, and by the way, one other thing, we're bringing in a bunch of international airlines this year.
Great.
We're becoming, the conference is becoming more international. It used to be seen as just a U.S. domestic event,
right.
But it's becoming more international because the international carriers want to meet the U.S. forwarders.
Yes.
So, should be interesting. And we've got great sponsorship, by the way. We got American Airlines as a dinner sponsor one night, and Southwest Airlines on the last night is sponsoring a dinner, and they have a surprise entertainment feature coming. They wouldn't tell us who it is, but you can bet it's going to be big.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I believe there's, in fact, I know there's a great golf course. There's actually 2 great golf courses in the facility that you're at. So that's a lot of fun as well. Yeah. All right, Brandon.
Don't let the heat worry you. It's a dry heat, so don't worry. Don't let the heat get to you. It'll be fine.
Yeah, I have no problem with the heat. Well, thanks for joining us. Thanks for the update, and I'll see you in June. Once again, it's Brandon Fried from the Air Forwarders Association, and thanks for listening. Talk to you later.
Great.
And we'll see you next time on Logical Logistics.
Click the subscribe button for new videos every week and download us and review us on iTunes. Visit www.beslogistics.net for more logistics, transportation, and warehousing resources. Thanks for watching.